Hello and welcome to History Mystery, live from a field in the middle of nowhere. Today we're talking about the Battle of Hastings, a time where a load of people got together in a field and beat each other with sticks and swords and horses and whatever else. You know, we're also talking about a few other things as well, like the political and social climate leading up to it and the Norman conquest as a whole. But you know, the Battle of Hastings gets clicks. So onwards and upwards, let's begin. Can I stop smiling now? It's starting to hurt.
On the 14th of October 1066, English history changed forever. Suddenly we went from the Anglo-Saxons to having some French bastard in charge of the entire country. But why? What happened? Well, a conqueror called William came across the channel and laid siege to the kingdom of Harold Godwinson. This is the story of William conquering England in the Norman invasion, and where it all went wrong for the other side. Was William destined to win, or did Harry G have a chance?
Well, I don't bloody know. I mean, look at me. Do I look like an expert to you? Is this expert couture? Didn't think so.
House of Louis, serving Christmas champagnes since 1999.
Now, thankfully, the tale of the Norman conquest can be told in a reasonably straightforward way, but do know this is very much an abridged interpretation of events, and I'm going to gloss over stuff. Anyway, we need to start at the very beginning, and that involves going back in time.
Oh my god, we're going into the past.
It's the year 911. The Vikings are all over Europe, pillaging everything and everyone, including themselves. Some Viking guy called Rollo has just tried to siege a place called Chartres in northern France. Thankfully for the French, Prince Odo managed to beat him off, but that wouldn't last forever, because for the last forever, the Vikings have been raiding the entire world, and France. This siege left the King of the West Franks, Charles the Simple, with a very difficult choice. Whatever do I do to calm things down?
And so in late 911, the Treaty of Saint-Clair-sur-Epte was probably signed. We don't have a copy of it anymore, because of course we don't. But thankfully there's a contemporary chronicler who can help us out here. Dodo. Someone actually named their child Dodo.
Charles offered up a lot of land and one of his daughters in exchange for Rollo's boys to roll up whenever the Vikings are on the horizon. Rollo was faithless at the time, so Charles simply asked him to come one and join Catholicism. Salve mia! This started the Duchy of Normandy. After discovering that God is a DJ, Rollo and his boys continued to live in Normandy for generations. Specifically, his boys and their boys. And eventually, there would be a little bastard called William.
Now, there's not a lot of pictures of these people at this time. Even the richest people in the world couldn't really be asked to commission portraits of themselves yet. And DeviantArt didn't exist, so they didn't have fan art. So unfortunately, all we have is pictures that people have done hundreds of years after the fact.
But with the advent of technology, we can try and simulate what he could have looked like. William was the son of Duke Robert I and his mistress Oleve. They never married, so William was therefore a bastard! But he was the only son, and therefore the only successor to the not crowned but close enough of Normandy. William lived a pretty good life growing up, and with age it was only going to get better. Okay, these mock-ups are just terrible. I mean, even taking a piss, they just make him look brilliant and flawless and fierce and brave. What if I made him just fierce and brave instead?
Hi guys, look at those lovely big ships. Hand back to me, I'm the important one. Hi guys, I'm William the Conqueror. Famous guy, famous Duke of Normandy. Everyone here already knows who I am. I'm basically royalty already. Just believe it. Hey you! Hey, hi! Do you know who I am?
No.
Do you know who I am? Oh come on, you must know who I am. William the Conqueror, just say for the TV show, we've got the cameras. Can you do that?
Okay.
Cool. Do you know who I am?
You're William the Conqueror.
That's right. I'm William the Conqueror, baby. Let's go to the next scene.
Now, a long time ago in England, King Canute was a man that existed. When he died, his northern empire was split between his kids, Harold Harefoot and Hardicanute. Harefoot got England and Hardicanute got Denmark, but both died before they could do anything meaningful. When Canute invaded England, he married a second wife, Emma of Normandy, who would go on to be Hardicanute's mum. But before that, she was actually married to the former King of England, Aethelred, and had kids with him.
Bloody hell, she got around. I think I need to ask her for tips.
Those kids stayed in Normandy after Aethelred famously did a shit and died. So in the 1040s, there's 4 kids who have a chance of becoming England's next top monarch. And eventually, after everyone kept dying, there would be just one winner, Edward the Confessor. And so Edward ruled 11th century England for a good long while without incident. Serious incident anyway. But there were 2 problems. Edward didn't have any kids or obvious male successors, and the omnipresent Godwin family. Oh no, the ominous cord button has got stuck. Now, Godwin was one of Canute's original advisors, and as a result he'd built up a lot of unchecked power. And that inherited wealth and power would eventually trickle down to his kids. Edward was not really a fan of this unchecked power, but there was very little that he could actually do. In the 1050s he actually tried to limit the Godwin family's influence. It didn't go very well. That being said, he did get fairly close to one of Godwin's sons, Tosti Godwinson. Now, it might have been because Tosti had no real chance of inheriting a crown or any real power, but still they got on fairly well, until they didn't. Regardless, Edward had a difficult choice to make. Who would be the next King of England?
According to the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, Edward made his choice in 1051. Here's an excerpt from the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, taken from its beautiful Latin and improved by internet translation.
Soon after came Earl William from wide sea with a large retinue of Franks. The king entertained him, and then received him, along with his companions. He then let Harold depart from him again.
Well, that's one way to win the monarchy over.
So Edward probably wanted William at this point, but Earl Godwin of the Godwin family had a different plan. What if his son was king instead? Harold, Godwin's son. So now there's a crisis. When Edward would inevitably die, who takes over? Some people wanted William, and one person wanted Harold Godwinson. Well, probably more than that. Well, I guess we won't find out until Edward dies. On the 28th of December 1065, Westminster Abbey was consecrated.
And if you know what that means without Googling it, congratulations. You are the only person.
Edward the Confessor probably ought to show up. It was quite a big deal. Probably one of the best buildings of the 11th century, and a big achievement for the time. Even at 1,000 years old, it still got it going on.
Whoa, Westminster Abbey, what a self!
But even then, he still didn't turn up. Why? You see, he was a bit on death's door, and Harold knew this, and so did practically everyone else. It was around January 1st, not New Year's back then by the way, that Edward confessed to Harold that he's probably not long for this world, and so he tells Harold Godwinson, "It's your kingdom, why not?" Apparently, no entertaining or receiving of any sort was needed this time. However, contemporary sources suggest that Edward the Confessor may have had a few strokes. The sourcing for a lot of these things, however, is a bit spotty, as is bloody everything in this period. A lot goes back to the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, which is probably good, but still far from perfect. No one can really seem to agree on anything, and everyone involved has a different picture that they want to paint that makes their team look good.
That's right, fake news and misinformation is as old as time itself. And unfortunately, we weren't there and will never truly find out what happened. At least they didn't have historical art that could perpetuate memes.
A little bit after the war was won, the Bayeux Tapestry was probably commissioned by William the Conqueror, or at least commissioned by one of his friends, or his half-brother Odo, from Bayeux. It's very clearly pro-Norman, depicting Willie, along with many other Willies, going from duke to king, and was likely produced as propaganda to explain to the peasantry why losing their sons and dads in the Battle of Hastings was really worth it. The whole tapestry has a narrative that can be best summed up as "F*** Harold, William forever." Indeed, one of the biggest probable lies for the tapestry peddles is that Harold Godwinson made a promise to William that he could become king when Edward dies. Now this is probably bollocks, given that Godwinson by that point was now the Earl of Wessex, and therefore the most likely to be the next king in an Edward-style succession crisis, but also it wouldn't have been Harold's decision to make. England's monarchs were decided by the Witan, a body of nobles and clergymen that decided who the next king would be by election, not unlike the Pope. There is of course a tiny kernel of truth within this story. Harold did end up in France in the mid-1060s after getting absolutely shipwrecked. What exactly happened between then and him coming back is unclear, and no one will ever know. This seems like textbook after-the-fact propaganda by the Normans. Willie, after all, really cared about his image. Just look at him. God, he's so stylish. Even if it may be far from the most fair and balanced reflection of the battles, it's still an extremely important embroidery. And absolutely remarkable that it's survived for as long as it has, almost 1,000 years. It's impossible to comprehend really. 1,000 years, centuries of which it was in active exhibition. Absolutely mad. However, it doesn't tell the full story, so you will see some amazing fan art by me in the style of the Bayeux Tapestry. It's really accurate. Anyway. Succession crisis! January the 5th. Edward's Deadwood and officiating a funeral as Jedward. Harold Godwinson, the next day no less, is elected by the Witan and gets coronated. Harold's brother Tostig was none too pleased. You see, Tostig was mates with Edward the Confessor, but he was also friends with Harald Hardrada, King of Norway. Tostig had recently fallen out of favour with Edward and therefore the crown as a whole, and as a result he desperately wanted to get back in the good books. And the best way of doing this, Tostig thought, was to call up Harold, Hardrada, and get him to invade England.
Okay, great, there's 2 Harolds now. That's not going to get confusing at all. Well, I'll just call this one Harry from Norway, and you're just going to have to like it.
Harry from Norway was a bit pissed off with not being able to conquer Denmark, and so also fancied himself the English crown. He had a passing claim to it and he decided to press it.
But f*** that noise, what does William think?
William heard pretty quickly that Harold Godwinson had snatched the crown and was understandably a bit miffed.
Oh my god, Matilda, you would not believe the day I've had. I had a little admin day, and oh my god, Edward the Confessor, he's dropped dead.
So miffed that he decided to land the biggest invasion of England since the last one.
So that means I have the crown. Yeah, I know, I've got to fight for it, but that should be easy, I mean, they're only English.
William frantically started building ships and hiring mercenaries from all over Western Europe, and it's believed that he also used that promise narrative from earlier to get support from the church and local nobles. Eventually, William would receive practically the full blessing of everything and everyone to invade England.
What even are these graphics? Why? Why?
But as William was planning his invasion, someone else decided to grab life by the Tostig. Tostig landed an invading fleet on the sunny Isle of Wight in early May, but the nobles were not that interested in supporting him. To hear! Over the next few months, both Team Harry, Team William, and Team Harold started to prepare the fight over who runs England successfully. Around this time, a big planet-shaped thing is seen in the sky. What is it? Well, it was a very early sighting of Halley's Comet. One day, Harold Godwinson sees this and probably shits himself. It's a bad omen. It was such a big deal that it even made its way into the Bayeux Tapestry. So yeah, not much more to say about that. On to the next thing.
Now, a question I had when I was researching this is how much did Team William know about Team Harry from Norway? Unfortunately, the answer isn't very clear, but it was likely that they didn't really know much about each other's efforts. But William had a bigger problem than just dealing with Harry from Norway, or Harold. The bloody weather.
You see, William was stuck in Normandy with an invading fleet that couldn't risk going during bad weather. If he crossed the channel at the wrong time, he could lose his whole fleet and end his dreams of a Norman England. So the best thing William could do was hedge his bets in Normandy, build up enough money to have the best shot of getting across, and try to cross the channel without drowning at sea. This meant that William had to delay his invasion plans several times, and I'm sure the mercenaries he hired were ecstatic about that one.
Hi mercenaries, love your work, love what you're doing, but can you go home for a bit, please? Yeah, no, I understand that. I know it's a shame. Yeah, I know I can shut that up, mate. We'll talk nearer the time. It's just, you know, I've seen the weather and it looks terrible. Bit like Harold Godwinson, really. God, I'm a sly one. Right, talk to you later, babes. Bye. People. Why are people so just useless? Anyway, I'm going to try and rule the English. BRB.
Things weren't looking too great on the other side of the channel either. The months ached on for Harold Godwinson. Harold had been waiting for an invasion that hadn't come, so he dismissed his army and fleet and just assumed that nothing was going to happen. Somehow he'd been able to repel the invaders and he could get back on with running England. So anyway, Harry and Tostig just arrived in York. Yep, that's right, Harry from Norway has started the invasion already, and he starts gaining land very quickly. Eventually, by hook or by crookedly demanding hostages, the county of Yorkshire capitulated and supported Harry from Norway's bid to run England. But their foot soldiers weren't the best ever. They were a merry band of Norwegians, Scots and Flemish mercenaries, and definitely not as united or as big a force as the Normans could muster, even though also the Normans had mercenaries. So they were having luck mopping up small bits of the English army, but certainly not all of it at once. Upon hearing about them, Harold Godwinson dropped everything he could and headed north as fast as he could with as much of the army as he could muster. Harold would grab life by the Tostig at the Battle of Stamford Bridge in what can only be described as an absolute win. It was a decisive victory for Harold Godwinson, and in the battle that ensued he managed to kill off both Harry from Norway and Tostig, so someone didn't grab life by the Tostig. Because he was dead! And I'm sure if he found out, William would have been miffed by this.
Oh, Harry from Norway, how are you, babes? Oh, I've been missing you so much. You know, I just saw Tosti. You know Tosti? Oh, he's dead, and you're dead as well. And how are you making this phone call? Answer me that.
And now we're back down to 2 teams, Harold versus William. But William was never going to come, right? 2 days after defeating the Norse forces at Stamford Bridge, Harold received word from a messenger. After months of anticipating him, William had just made it over the Channel, with an army just as big as his. He had established a castle in the remains of a Roman fort in Pevensey, just outside the village of Hastings. With that, William and Harold were set to finally meet.
Alright, Cliff, that's the shot we need. Fly the drone back. No. What do you mean you've lost control? No, stop flying it. It's going to fly into the cliff. Just stop flying. Just stop. Oh, not another one.
Two monarchs stand before England. This is their last chance to impress us. Now you must battle for your life.
Unfortunately, I wasn't there to commentate on it. No, you did not see that. Shh, you didn't see that. It's fake news. It's a Bayeux tapestry.
However, I had a recording of it on my old Sky Minus box, which records things before they happen. Neat, huh? Anyway, here's the footage. Good evening and welcome to Battle of the Day on Sky Sports. Tonight it's the Battle of the Century, live at Hastings Castle. It's the old stalwarts of Normandy Duchy versus Godwinson United. Who will win tonight and get the crown or cup or whatever they want? And the battle is off, and we're seeing Norman arrows flying. Bloody hell, I wouldn't want to be caught by that. F***ing hell. Now VAR has dictated that's a war crime. And the Norman spears are just going up straight into the English, and oh, it's painful to watch. We just had word that Griff and Leofwine have been killed in battle. And if you know who they are, good for you. And I'm never going to find out. Can you believe it? The English are absolutely surrounded by the Normans. This is a bloodbath if I ever did see one. Now, the rumours about William that we just announced 5 minutes ago, he's back, they're false, he's coming out and he's coming through.
Just to address the rumours, I'm still alive.
And they're going for it, and there we have it, Harold Godwinson has been struck. Var says it's the eye, but we can't be too sure, and the nuns are embroidering it in the eye. There we go, Harold's dead, Harold Rex interfectus est. It has been an insane day. What a decisive victory for the Normans, 6,000 dead. And now William has won the battle and probably won the cup. And with that, William won the battle and practically won the war. Harold Godwinson was dead, and contemporary estimates put the death toll at around 6,000. 6,000 people died for one dude to be in charge and do something.
God, I'm so glad that we in England have given up wars since, I'll get back to you on that.
William continued to move north, taking over more and more of Kent until finally reaching London. After meeting a little bit of resistance on the London Bridge, he opted to go back round and take the Norman line up to Westminster. Eventually, the English nobles realised they had two options. They could either accept William as their king, or get f***ed, so they decided to start submitting. By December, every single noble had either surrendered or submitted, and on the 25th of December...
Hello? Oh, you want me to be king? Oh, I'll come right away.
William was crowned King of England. The Battle of Hastings is often seen as a turning point in English history, and for a good reason. William got rid of Anglo-Saxon traditions and made the country more institutionally European. Gone were the Witan electors, for example. Suddenly all the laws were written in French, and there's French words for everything. And suddenly we now have centuries of conflict based on the idea that everyone that was ever related to William was French enough to be in line for the French crown. So really, it's a bit of a mixed bag. So what have we learned today? You always need to keep track of who you promise your kingdom to. I have a diary that I make sure I log who I've promised my kingdom to. And by kingdom, I mean my... Always make sure you attend your abbey consecration. You never want to miss your abbey consecration. If you knew what that was, you wouldn't want to miss it. Entertaining and receiving on a first outing will only get you so far in life. And above all else, make sure you grab life by the tostig. Or your tostigs. I don't know, that sounds kind of painful actually when I put it like that.